Okay, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a night driving video in HD. I've done a few of these with the old Vado, so you know how they look. Now, just a question of whether HD is any better, because obviously what I have now is this amazing amount of snow piled up at the side. I don't know how clear that it is, that this is quite a high sort of verge made up entirely of snow, really. Obviously not, I say entirely of snow, the sides are slightly higher normally than the road, but not that much higher. You can drive a bike up it without you know, breaking your neck, whereas you wouldn't be able to drive a bike up that. You just come straight off the tyres at the front if you tried it. So as you can see, an awful lot of snow fell and didn't melt, and then another awful lot fell on top of that, and they've had to make the road obviously clear, so they've just piled it up on the sides there like that. In Moscow they take it away, of course, actually after a certain period of time, because it goes on for such a long time that it just adds on to itself, that in order to avoid flooding they have to take it right out of the city in carts, and nobody's done that in Poland. I don't even think they've got the equipment for it, because they're not used to it adding up and adding up and adding up, so that you get whole piles of it, and then they all melt, of course, and then you end up with right old flooding coming if it melts too quickly. And that's something which might well happen if this doesn't, if more snow comes this week before this lot melts, and this happens again a few times over, then I don't think that the drains of Warsaw are actually very well equipped to deal with all that water appearing at once if it melts quickly. So we ought to actually think about, which of course nobody will do, but we ought to think, of course, about taking some of the snow away from the city altogether, actually piling it all up on lorries like the Muscovites do, and driving it out. At least in areas where a flood is likely to do the most damage. That's what I think. Anyway, I don't want to be too long, because the idea of this was really just to show what HD, well, obviously to make a monument of this unusually large amount of snow at the side of roads, to make a kind of monument, or a memento rather, not a monument, to make a memento of that on the one hand, and also just to check out the old HD function at night. Unfortunately, you know, night filming isn't that great, but you know, it's not quite 9 o'clock in the summertime. This would still be light, of course, and so in the summer I've got light films the whole time. In the winter, well, I work during the day. What can I film at work? Nothing. So, you know, I just have these dark films going on at winter an awful lot of the time, which is, you know, if you see a dark film on my channel from the past, it's probably done in winter. But the good news is, you know, it's mid-January, 18th today of January. Each day is a little bit longer by a few minutes than the day before it, you know, so it actually isn't that long before this all turns around, and look how high that is, all piled up by the school there. So it's not that long until it all turns around, and we get to, I'll put it onto the close-up and you can see it even better. Ooh, that's the sleeping policeman they have there. So it's not that long until we get longer days, and that's the hope that keeps everybody going, really, at this time. This is a bit narrow. I have to go past this WND guy. I've seen him a lot on the road, actually. Go past him rather gingerly. And you don't see this often. I mean, you don't see it this bad these days, very many winters. Probably one in 3, 4 or 5 has anything like this these days. So it's worth just keeping a track of it, or making a film of it for posterity. And anybody can come and see what these large amounts of snow by the roadside looked like.